Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. Rain pounded against the windows of the small, two-story building on the outskirts of Boston, and Nathan stood in front of his study window, clutching a crumpled bank statement in his hand. The six-figure number stung his eyes, the last payment he made for his daughter Melissa's college tuition. As a senior electrical engineer, he was not unable to afford the expense, but it represented a sacrifice and effort he had made over the past 4 years. Every overtime shift, every missed vacation, every weekend spent at the job site was to ensure that his only daughter would graduate debt-free. It was worth it, he whispered to himself, a tired smile lifting the corners of his mouth. Tomorrow is Melissa's graduation from the Rhode Island School of Design, and it will be a proud moment for the whole family. Even though Melissa's phone calls and texts had become less frequent over the past few months, Nathan still attributed it to the stress of finals. His cell phone vibrated, and the screen showed a message from Melissa. Nathan's heartbeat quickened, perhaps a final confirmation about tomorrow's arrangements. He unlocked his phone, expecting to see his daughter's excited words. That message hit him like a punch in the chest. "To me, you're dead, and I found a new dad who's mom's new boyfriend. Don't ever try to contact me again. I've changed my last name." Nathan's legs went weak, and he dropped into a chair, his cell phone slipping from between his trembling fingers. He read it over and over, hoping it was just a cruel joke. Just as he was about to call back, he realized he had been blackballed. Instagram, Facebook, even email, Melissa blocked him on all platforms. He shakily dialed his ex-wife Rachel's number. 2 bells later, her cold voice came through. "Nathan," she said with obvious impatience in her tone. "What's up? What happened to Melissa?" His voice was hoarse. "She just sent me a really weird message saying she found a new dad." A mocking soft laugh came from the other end of the line. "Oh, you finally got it. I thought she'd wait until after graduation to tell you." "No what?" "Rachel, what the hell happened? Know the truth." Rachel's voice became sharp. "About how you destroyed our marriage. About all that overtime you get on those business trips." Nathan felt a wave of vertigo. "What are you talking about? Don't play innocent, Nathan. Melissa already knows about your cheating. I put up with it for years, but when Melissa asked about the real reason for our divorce, I decided to stop protecting your image." "Cheating?" Nathan practically shouted. "I never dash." "Save it," Rachel interrupted. "Darren and I are happy now, and Melissa has accepted him. He gave her the kind of support and attention that you never give. You're not coming to graduation tomorrow. You're no longer welcome." The phone suddenly cuts out, leaving Nathan alone, lost in unfathomable confusion. He tries calling Melissa's number again, but it goes straight to voicemail. Nathan slumped into his chair and felt his whole world fall apart. Every overtime shift and every extra dollar earned over the past 4 years has been invested in Melissa's education. He accepted the toughest jobs in electrical engineering because they paid the most. He missed his social events and postponed his vacation plans just to make sure he could pay those expensive tuition bills. And now she says he's dead. Shock gradually changed to confusion and then to anger. This wasn't just a misunderstanding, it was a well-planned betrayal. Rachel obviously lied to Melissa, and he didn't even get a chance to defend himself. The next morning, Nathan drove to Rhode Island with red, swollen eyes. Despite Rachel's warnings not to go, he refuses to miss his daughter's graduation. However, when he reached the campus, the security guard stopped him. "I'm sorry, sir," said a headset-wearing security guard. "Your name is not on the list of those authorized to enter." "There must be some mistake," Nathan explained eagerly. "I'm Melissa Campbell's father." "The system shows that Melissa's father is Darren Moore," the security guard replied as he looked at the tablet. "We have clear instructions not to allow you in. If you continue to be a nuisance, we will have to call the campus police." Nathan stood there and watched as other families gleefully made their way through the security checkpoint. He saw Rachel and a tall blonde man, thought to be Darren, walk into the auditorium arm in arm. Accompanying them was Melissa in her graduation gown with a happy smile on her face. None of the three looked in Nathan's direction as they passed. He was a ghost and no longer existed to them. The next few weeks were a nightmare for Nathan. He thought over every moment of the last few years, trying to make sense of Rachel's accusations. Yes, he traveled a lot, sometimes being away from home 3 days a week. Yes, he often misses family dinners because he works late. But it was all about providing a better life for his family, and especially for Melissa's college education. He tries to contact Melissa's friends and classmates in hopes that someone will pass the word along for him, but everyone politely declines. Apparently, Melissa has told everyone her version about how her cheating, irresponsible father destroyed her family. Nathan begins to investigate Rachel's new boyfriend, Darren. Through social media, he learns that Darren is a financial advisor with what appears on the surface to be a successful career. But Nathan notices some odd details. Despite Darren's display of a lavish lifestyle, his company has almost no web presence. Distraught, Nathan contacts his longtime friend Marcus, a private investigator. "I need to know everything about this man." Nathan pushed a stack of printouts at Marcus, who was sitting across the cafe. Who he is, where he gets his money from, how long he's been with my ex-wife. Marcus flipped through the file and frowned. "Are you sure you want to go down this road, Nathan? Sometimes revealing the truth only brings more pain. My daughter thinks I'm an asshole for betraying my family." Nathan's voice trembles with emotion. "I've lost everything, and I don't even know why. I need the truth." Marcus sighed and closed the folder. "Okay, I'll look into it. But don't get your hopes up. These kinds of things are often more complicated than they appear." The Marcus survey was slower than expected. Meanwhile, Nathan immerses himself in his work, accepting all possible overtime in an attempt to keep his thoughts away from the pain. One night, as he rushed home from a power plant project, he found a thick manila envelope tucked under his door. He opened the envelope and dumped out a bunch of photos and papers. Nathan's heart sank lower and lower as he went through each photo. The photos show Rachel and Darren interacting intimately on various occasions. The earliest photo date is shown in the last year of Nathan and Rachel's marriage. There are also bank statements showing suspiciously large deposits to Rachel's account, dated to coincide alarmingly with Nathan's business trip. Most shocking was a whistleblower letter from Darren's former employer accusing him of embezzling client funds. The letter is dated months before Rachel filed for divorce. All the clues point to one undeniable fact. Not only did Rachel cheat on her during their marriage, but she may have conspired with Darren to embezzle funds. The divorce may have been an attempt to cut ties with these financial misdeeds, and the cheating charges were put on Nathan as a distraction. Nathan picked up the phone and with trembling fingers dialed Marcus' number. "You've seen it." There was sympathy in Marcus' voice. "Seen it." Nathan swallowed hard. "Is any of this true?" "Every detail. I even contacted a couple of Darren's former clients. They all have the same experience. A large investment, promises of high returns, and then the money disappears. He's smart enough to always stay on the edge of the law, making it difficult for victims to file lawsuits." "Does Rachel know about this?" "Based on her bank records, I think she not only knew, but was complicit. The timing of those deposits appearing was too coincidental." Nathan hung up the phone, deep in thought. Not only did Rachel ruin their marriage, she stole his reputation and, most importantly, took away his relationship with his daughter. And Melissa, blinded by lies, is now being raised by a couple of liars. The seeds of revenge take root in Nathan's mind. Darren and Rachel took everything from him, and now he will make sure they pay for it. It wasn't just for himself. It was also to protect Melissa from the pair of crooks. Nathan's plan began with a simple idea: gather evidence and bring the pair of crooks to justice. But it is by no means easy. Rachel and Darren took great care to ensure that no obvious evidence of the crime was left behind. Nathan needs more information, more hard evidence. He began to keep detailed records of everything he found while learning more about financial crimes. At night, he would search Darren's name on the internet for any possible leads. To Nathan's surprise, he finds Darren bragging on social media about being the founder of an investment firm, claiming to have brought in amazing returns for his clients. The firm's website is beautifully designed but lacks substance, with little information on investment strategy or company history. Nathan contacted the Securities and Exchange Commission but was told there was not enough evidence to launch an investigation. He tried to contact the local police, but they were also unable to act due to the lack of complaints from direct victims. Frustration nearly overwhelms Nathan until he thinks of another way. If he can't get justice through official channels, maybe he can seek help directly from those who have been scammed. Nathan started looking online for investors who might have been duped by Darren. On a financial forum, he found several threads complaining about similar investment schemes, with descriptions remarkably similar to Darren's techniques. He was careful to contact these people without revealing his true identity, only that he was gathering information about the person. Gradually, responses began to pour in. Many shared similar experiences. Darren would promise incredible returns on investment, ask for large upfront deposits, and then either disappear or provide various excuses as to why the funds could not be returned. But most people don't lose enough money to start expensive legal proceedings, and Darren always makes sure to walk on the edge of the law. Nathan organizes these testimonies into a detailed document while continuing to monitor Darren's social media. One day, he notices that Darren has announced a lavish investment seminar, inviting potential clients to learn about his revolutionary investment strategy. It's a perfect opportunity. Nathan contacts all of his informants and suggests that they attend the seminar, but not reveal the fact that they already know Darren. At the same time, he anonymously contacted a local reporter investigating financial crimes and provided enough evidence to pique her interest. On the day of the seminar, Nathan observed the venue from a distance. Darren, dressed in an upscale suit, confidently sells his scam to the wealthy individuals in the room. Rachel stood by, radiant, playing the role of the successful investor's partner. To Nathan's surprise, he saw Melissa there, dressed in stylish professional attire, apparently helping her mother and stepfather organize the event. She looked so proud, so sure she was involved in a legitimate business. Nathan's heart breaks at this scene. His daughter was not only deceived by the lie, but she was caught up in the deception. Halfway through the seminar, several informants began to raise questions as planned. What started out as innocuous questions gradually turned into a direct challenge to Darren's past investment performance. Darren tries to remain calm, but as more and more people join in the questioning, he begins to look flustered. Just as the situation became tense, a female reporter stood up, introduced herself as an investigative reporter for the local newspaper, and began asking questions about Darren's past business practices and undeclared complaints. The scene quickly spiraled out of control, with potential investors leaving in droves and Darren's futile attempts to calm the situation. Nathan noticed in the confusion that Rachel had pulled Melissa out of the meeting quickly. He saw the look of confusion and fear on Melissa's face, and for a split second wanted to go after her and explain everything. But he knew the time wasn't right yet. Exposing the truth is only the first step. Over the next few weeks, Nathan's plan began to show results. That reporter published a series of articles about Darren's questionable business practices that garnered a lot of attention. More and more former clients are coming forward to accuse Darren of fraud, and anger and skepticism towards him is spreading on social media. Darren's investment firm's website was shut down in a hurry, and his Instagram displays of his lavish lifestyle came to an abrupt halt. Nathan learns through Marcus that Darren and Rachel have hastily sold their mansion and moved into a much smaller apartment. However, Nathan didn't feel the satisfaction he expected. Destroying Darren's career is one thing, but he still hasn't been able to restore his daughter's trust in him. Even if Darren is exposed as a liar, Melissa may still believe the lies about him cheating on her. That's when Nathan received an anonymous email with a video file attached. He hits play and sees Rachel and Darren in a hotel room. Dated in the last year of their marriage, the video shows Rachel clearly admitting to cheating and discussing how to transfer property out of Nathan's name. Most shockingly, Rachel laughed and said, "That fool Nathan always believes my lies. It's too easy to say he cheated on his wife, and Melissa would believe it if he traveled that often." Nathan sat still for a long time, his emotions oscillating between anger and relief. The video is key evidence in cleansing his reputation, but he's not sure how to use it without hurting Melissa. Just as he's hesitating, he receives another piece of news. The Securities and Exchange Commission has officially opened an investigation into Darren. Apparently, the journalist's reports and the growing number of complaints finally drew the attention of officials. Nathan decided to be patient and let the legal process take its course. A few months later, Darren was formally charged with multiple counts of financial fraud, and Rachel faced an investigation as an accomplice. Their world is falling apart, and Nathan makes sure the media covers it extensively. But Melissa still hasn't contacted him. Nathan learns that she has moved out of her mother's apartment and rented a small studio on her own, apparently trying to distance herself from the scandal. Her social media accounts were either deleted or set to private, as if she was trying to disappear from the online world. Nathan wants to reach out to her and tell her the truth, but he's worried that direct contact will cause more damage. Instead, he decided to take a more subtle approach. He compiled all the evidence, including the video, into a detailed document and sent it, along with a sincere letter, to Melissa's new address. In the letter, he does not accuse or complain, but simply states the facts and expresses his unconditional love for his daughter. He told her that no matter what she believed, no matter what decision she made, he would always love her and support her. Then Nathan does the hardest thing of all. He waits, hoping that the truth will triumph over the lies. Time passes and seasons change. Darren's trial made local headlines and ended with him pleading guilty. Rachel avoided jail time, but after community service and fines, her reputation and finances were in tatters. Nathan didn't gloat or publicly comment on the furor. Instead, he put his energy into his life by accepting an international electrical engineering program, giving him the opportunity to go abroad for a few months. During his time in a foreign country, Nathan begins to rebuild his life. He makes new friends, develops new hobbies, and even begins a new relationship with a British engineer named Elena whom he meets at work. Intelligent, independent, and compassionate, Elena listened to Nathan's story without judgment, only understanding. Back in Boston, Nathan and Elena maintain a long-distance relationship. Over a year of spending time together has made their relationship grow deeper, and eventually, Elena decides to move to Boston to live with Nathan. However, despite life moving forward, Nathan still has a wound in his heart that won't heal: Melissa's absence. No wedding invitations, no holiday cards, not even a text message. Sometimes he would dream about her and wake up with a wet pillow. Until that rainy night when everything changed. The rain pounded on the windows, just like that night 3 years ago when Nathan and Elena were preparing dinner. Their new home is smaller than Nathan's previous house, but full of coziness and laughter. Elena is stirring the spaghetti sauce, while Nathan is chopping tomatoes for the salad. The doorbell rang suddenly, breaking the quiet family moment. Elena gave Nathan a quizzical look. They weren't expecting visitors. "I'll go check it out," Nathan said, putting down his knife and wiping his hands. He opened the door and was surprised to see a drenched, haggard-looking young woman standing under the porch. Even though her hair had changed color and she'd lost a lot of weight, those eyes, he'd never mistake those eyes. "Dad," Melissa's voice quivered. "I need help." Nathan's instinct was to hug her immediately and tell her everything would be okay. But 3 years of pain and betrayal are not so easily forgotten. He stood there, looking at her with an expressionless face. "Who are you?" he asked calmly. Melissa's eyes widened, tears mixing with the rain. "Dad, it's me, Melissa. I know I don't deserve it, but I really need Dash." Her words came to a screeching halt, her gaze crossing over Nathan's shoulder to see Elena standing behind him. Elena smiled gently, the ketchup-stained wooden spoon still in her hand. "Oh," Melissa whispered, taking a step back. "I'm interrupting. I shouldn't have come." She turned to leave, but Nathan grabbed her wrist. "Wait," he said, the hardness in his voice beginning to melt. "Come in. You're soaking wet." Melissa hesitated, her eyes moving back and forth between Nathan and Elena. "I'm Elena." Elena introduced herself softly, placing the wooden spoon on the small table by the door and extending her hand forward. "Your father talks about you a lot. Please come in. It's too cold outside." Melissa walked slowly into the house, shivering, not sure if it was from the cold or nervousness. Nathan led her into the living room, and Elena quietly retreated back into the kitchen to give father and daughter space. After an awkward silence, Melissa spoke up, her voice barely audible. "I saw all that news about Darren, and the information you sent me." She paused for a moment as tears came to her eyes. "I was wrong, Daddy. I believed my mom's lies, and I hurt you. I can't even imagine how much you hate me." Nathan took a deep breath and tried to control his emotions. "I never hated you, Melissa. It's the lies I hate, the lies that took you from me. I should have seen the truth sooner," Melissa sobbed. "But I was too stupid, too easily manipulated. When things started to fall apart, when I realized Darren was a liar, I started to question everything. Then I found your letter and all that evidence." Her voice broke with sobs. "I have absolutely no idea how to face you." Nathan sat next to her, but still kept his distance. "So why come now? Why tonight?" Melissa wiped her eyes and tried to calm down. I lost everything, Dad. My job, my apartment. I loaned all my savings to my mom for her legal fees, and now that money is gone, I have nowhere else to go. She lowered her head. But not just for the money. I missed you. I miss our relationship. I want to apologize, even if you can never forgive me. Nathan felt a complex of emotions welling up in his chest: sadness, anger, compassion, and love, the kind of fatherly love that could never quite go away. I don't know if we can fix what's broken, he said eventually, but you can stay tonight. We'll talk about the rest tomorrow. From the kitchen came Elena's voice. Dinner is ready. Enough for 3 people. Melissa looked up at Nathan in surprise. Does she know who I am? Nathan nodded. Elena knows everything. No secrets, no lies. That's the foundation of our relationship. She looks fine, Melissa said softly. And you look very happy. I'm learning how to be happy again, Nathan replied. It's not easy, but I'm trying. He stood up and walked toward the kitchen, then turned to look at his daughter, the young woman who had abandoned him and was now back in his life. Come on, he said, a cautious warmth in his voice. Let's eat something and talk it over. Melissa followed him, her pace hesitant and uncertain. It's not forgiveness or even reconciliation, but it's a start, a possible new chapter. When she walks into the warmth of the kitchen and sees Elena setting the plates and Nathan stirring the pasta, Melissa realizes she's standing on the brink of a whole new kind of family, one built on truth and respect. She didn't know if she would be accepted, if she deserved to be accepted, but she knew that she had to work to win back her father's trust, no matter how long it took. Dinner went on in a strange peace. Elena dominated most of the conversation, asking Melissa about her design school experience and career aspirations, skillfully avoiding the more sensitive topics. Melissa responded cautiously, stealing glances at Nathan every now and then, trying to decipher his expression. Nathan, on the other hand, remains mostly silent, focusing on his food and responding only when necessary. When the meal was over, Elena got up to clear her plate. I have some work to finish tonight, she said gently, obviously creating privacy for father and daughter. Melissa, the guest room is ready with clean towels and some clothes that might fit. When Elena left, that unnatural silence once again enveloped the restaurant. Melissa fidgets nervously with her napkin. She's really nice, she finally spoke. I can tell she cares about you. Nathan nodded. Elena is an extraordinary person. We met on a grid project in Qatar 2 years ago. There was another silence. Dad? Melissa took a deep breath. I know a dinner and a few apologies won't make up for what I've done to you. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know that I am very ashamed of my behavior. Nathan slowly raised his head and finally looked her straight in the eye. You put me through the 3 most painful years of my life, Melissa. Not only did you cut off all contact with me, you believed terrible lies about me and even changed your last name. His voice was calm but firm. What hurts me the most is that you didn't even give me a chance to defend myself. Melissa's tears welled up again. I know. I was manipulated by Mom and Darren, but that's no excuse. I should have at least heard your explanation. Yes, you should have done that, Nathan agreed. But I also understand the situation you were in. Rachel is your mother, and you want to believe her. Darren seems to be a successful businessman who can give you a complete family. And I'm always working, always away from home. But it was to pay for my tuition, Melissa said softly, and I see that now. Nathan sighed. Partly for tuition, yes, but also because that was my way of coping with my marital problems. When my relationship with your mom started to deteriorate, I chose to run away, burying my head in my work instead of facing our problems. It doesn't excuse Rachel's deception, but I'm responsible. This candid self-reflection seemed to surprise Melissa. She had been expecting her father's anger, but she hadn't expected to hear his introspection. So what now? She asked, a hint of hope in her voice. Can we fix this? Nathan thought for a moment. I don't know, Melissa. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. But I'm willing to try and take my time. First, I need to know where you are right now. You said you lost everything. Over the next hour, Melissa describes her predicament. After graduation, she got a job at a small design firm, and everything seemed to be going well. But when Darren's fraud begins to come to light, she finds herself in collateral damage. While she wasn't directly involved in Darren's scam, Photos of her helping to organize the infamous investment seminar began circulating online. Her employer, concerned about negative PR, fired her. Meanwhile, Rachel freezes the trust fund used for Melissa in the divorce settlement and uses most of the money for her own legal defense. When Rachel is sentenced to community service and fined, there are hardly any assets left for Melissa. The worst part, Melissa continues, is that I've lost a lot of friends in the last 3 years. In the beginning, I told everyone the story about you cheating on me, and now that the truth has come out, I feel ashamed. Nathan frowned. How are you and Rachel doing now? Melissa laughed bitterly. It's almost non-existent. She refuses to admit any wrongdoing, insisting that you hurt her first and that she's just being vindictive. Even in the face of all the evidence, she still lives in her own reality. Sounds a lot like Rachel, Nathan said softly. She never liked responsibility. As the night wore on, Nathan signaled an end to the conversation. That's enough for tonight. You need to rest, and we'll continue this discussion tomorrow. He stood up, hesitated, then added, Whatever happens, Melissa, I'm glad you're safe. Melissa nodded, gratefully accepting the tiny gesture of reconciliation. That night, she lay in bed in the guest room, and for the first time in a long time felt a glimmer of hope. The next few days were filled with cautious refamiliarization. Melissa stays in Nathan and Elena's home and gradually settles into their daily lives. Elena becomes an unexpected mediator, her gentle demeanor providing a buffer to the tension between father and daughter. Nathan helped Melissa organize her resume and use his contacts to find design job opportunities. Although he remains emotionally distant, this practical support is a sign of his willingness to give second chances. One Sunday afternoon, when Elena goes to a yoga class, Nathan and Melissa finally have a real heart-to-heart talk. They sat on the back patio, coffee in hand, surrounded by fall foliage. I was wondering, Nathan asked, getting right to the point. Have you ever considered changing back to your old last name? Melissa hesitated. I've been thinking about that, but I'm worried it will seem too perfunctory, like I'm just doing this for your support. Not for me, Nathan replied, but for yourself. The name stands for identity, Melissa. Which last name you choose somehow reflects who you want to be. Melissa pondered this idea. I used my birth name when I applied for my new job, but legal changes take time. She looked up and straight into her father's eyes. You know, when I changed my last name, Darren paid for everything, even got me a lawyer. Now that I think about it, that would have been a warning sign. Nathan grunted noncommittally. Dad, Melissa took a deep breath. About my tuition in college. I want to pay back. It may take a long time, but that's my responsibility. Nathan shook his head. That money was a gift, Melissa, not a loan. Even when you. After I left, I never regretted investing in your education. But after what I did to you, that's one thing, Nathan interrupted her. This is another. No matter what happens, you will always be my daughter, and an education is the most important gift I can give you. Melissa's eyes filled with tears. I really don't know how to make up for what I did to you. Nathan was silent for a moment, staring off into the distance. Maybe you can't, at least not completely. But you can prove yourself through your future behavior. It proves that you've learned your lesson, become more truthful and honest, and are no longer easily manipulated by the lies of others. He turned to his daughter. I don't need you to pay back the money, Melissa. What I need is to know that what I've given hasn't been in vain, both financially and emotionally. In that moment, Melissa realized that her father had given her a priceless gift, not unconditional forgiveness, but the opportunity to rebuild herself. This is more valuable and challenging than simply forgiving. As fall turns to winter, Melissa lands a job at a small but promising architectural firm. She rents a small apartment not far from Nathan's house and comes for dinner every Sunday. Slowly, the relationship between father and daughter begins to mend, even though the scar will never fully disappear. One night, shortly after she moved into her new apartment, Nathan visited with a heavy suitcase. What is it? Melissa asked curiously. Open it and see, he replied. The box was filled with her childhood photos, school projects, and mementos, all the things she thought she had lost. You kept these, she said, flipping through the contents in surprise, her voice trembling with emotion. Of course, Nathan said calmly. Even in my darkest days, I never really gave up hope. Melissa found a special photo, the 10-year-old sitting on Nathan's shoulder, the two of them at Disneyland, her face beaming with pure joy. "I remember the day," she smiled, "when you took me on all the rides, even though you were afraid of roller coasters." "I was terrified," Nathan admitted, a small smile appearing at the corners of his mouth. "But seeing you so happy made it all worth it." A comfortable silence enveloped them, a rare moment of peace in recent times. "Thanks for not giving up on me, Dad," Melissa finally said, "even when I gave up on you." Nathan looked at her deeply. "This is what being a parent is all about, Melissa. Even when you're gone, I'm still your father. That will never change." Winter passes and spring creeps in. Melissa's life stabilizes as she makes progress at work and begins to build a new social circle. She also grows close to Elena, who becomes her unexpected but welcome mentor. However, an unresolved issue still looms over her, Rachel. Since that disastrous seminar, the relationship between mother and daughter has become distant and strained. Rachel refuses to admit she was wrong and continues to stand by allegations that have been proven to be lies. One day, Melissa receives a text from Rachel asking to meet. After much hesitation, she decided to go to the appointment, while informing Nathan of the decision. "Are you sure you want to see her?" Nathan asked, concern in his voice. "Rachel is still a master manipulator." "I know," Melissa replied, "but I need this to be over for my own sake. I need to face her and tell the truth about me." Nathan nodded, respecting her decision. "Just remember, whatever she says, don't let yourself be manipulated again." In the cafe, Rachel looks much older than Melissa remembers. The legal proceedings and social repercussions have clearly affected her. Her radiance was gone, replaced by a bitter exhaustion. "You look good," Rachel said stiffly, sipping her coffee. "Thanks," Melissa responded briefly. "What did you want to see me about, Mom?" Rachel looked around and lowered her voice. "I need money, Melissa. Darren's legal fees have drained my savings, and I can barely pay my rent." Melissa stared at her mother incredulously. "So this is about money? Not an apology, not an admission that you lied to me about Dad." "What lies?" Rachel immediately became defensive. "Nathan hurt me, Melissa. Maybe not through cheating, but he betrayed the marriage in other ways. Paying bills by working for money." Melissa retorted, her voice rising with anger. "By making sure I can go to college without taking on debt? Are those betrayals? You don't understand." "No, I totally get it," Melissa interrupted her. "You and Darren lied to everyone you came in contact with, including me. You ruined my relationship with Dad just because you couldn't accept your mistakes." A flash of shame flashed in Rachel's eyes, but was quickly replaced by anger. "So now you're on his side? After all the years I've trained you?" "It's not about taking sides, Mom. It's about the truth. And the truth is, you used me as a tool for your revenge. You made me believe Dad was a monster when you knew the whole time it was a lie." Rachel's jaw tightened. "You have no idea what I went through, feeling neglected and forgotten in that marriage." "Then you should confront these issues directly," Melissa replied firmly. "Through communication or, if necessary, divorce. But not by cheating on your daughter and making her hate her father. That's inexcusable." Rachel gave a hurt look. "So you'll never forgive me again? That's it." Melissa looked deeply at her mother. "I didn't say I'd never forgive you. But first, you need to admit what you did and sincerely apologize. Not just to me, but to Dad." "Apologize to Nathan?" Rachel almost scoffs. "After he destroyed my life?" "He didn't destroy your life, Mom. Your choices with Darren destroyed your life." Melissa stood up, ready to leave. "I'll be here when you're ready to face the truth. But I won't pay you, and I won't tolerate more lies." Rachel didn't say anything, just sat there looking both angry and surprised, obviously not expecting such a radical change in her daughter's attitude. Melissa leaves the cafe feeling a strange sense of relief. The conversation confirmed what she already knew. Her mother was still living a self-woven lie. But it's comforting to know that Melissa herself has broken free of these lies. That night, Melissa went to Nathan and Elena's house. She needs to share the experience of this meeting, somehow seeking confirmation that she made the right choice. "I felt bad for refusing to give her the money," Melissa admitted, sitting at the breakfast bar in the kitchen. "But at the same time, I knew that money would probably go straight to Darren." Nathan nodded. "You did the right thing. It's one thing to help Rachel, but it's another to enable her to continue to support Darren." Elena handed Melissa a cup of tea. Sometimes loving someone means not giving them what they want, but what they need. Maybe your mother needs to face the consequences of her actions. Melissa gratefully accepted the teacup. I just hope she changes and realizes what she did wrong. People only change when they're ready, Nathan said softly. We can't force them to see a truth they don't want to see. Just like me, Melissa said reproachfully. It took me so long to see the truth. But the important thing is that you finally saw it, Nathan replied, for the first time with palpable warmth and pride in his tone, and that's better than a lot of people do. Elena cleared her throat softly. I have an idea that may be a bit presumptuous, but I thought this weekend might be a good time to get the three of us together for a cabin vacation in Maine. The fall foliage should be beautiful there, and we can all get away from the stress of the city. Melissa looks at Elena in surprise, then turns to her father. At one time, that cabin was a special place for the Campbell family, a destination for countless family weekends. It's been in Nathan's name since his parents divorced, but Melissa hasn't been there in years. Unless you don't want to go, Elena added hastily, noting Melissa's hesitation. No, I'd love to go, Melissa replied sincerely. It's just, there are a lot of memories. Sometimes revisiting old ground can help create new memories, Nathan said softly, overriding those painful pasts. His words weren't just about the cabin, Melissa realized. They are about what they are doing, rebuilding relationships on the ruins of betrayal and hurt. So, going to the lodge this weekend? She asked with a smile. Nathan finally reached out and gently took his daughter's hand. Going to the cabin this weekend. The main cottage is still as serene and beautiful as Melissa remembers it. Pine trees surround the wooden buildings, and the fresh air carries the scent of the forest and the lake. Autumn sunlight pours through the leaves, gilding everything with gold. The three take walks around the lake, wander the town, and sit around the fireplace in the evenings sharing stories. Elena talks about her engineering projects around the world, and Nathan shares a few anecdotes from his work. No one talks about the pain of the past, but it's there, like a fading scar. On the last night, after Elena had gone to bed early, Nathan and Melissa sat in rocking chairs on the porch, staring up at the star-filled sky. Thanks for inviting me, Melissa said softly. It was easier than I thought it would be. Nathan nodded thoughtfully. Sometimes the only way to move forward is to give yourself permission to enjoy the present moment without letting the past overshadow everything. They sat in silence for a while, the peace broken only by the chirping of insects and a distant owl. Dad. Melissa finally spoke, determination in her voice. I want to ask you something, but I'm afraid it will break the peace we've worked so hard to build. Nathan turned to her. Ask. There should be no more secrets or unspoken words between us. When I came back that rainy night, and you said, "Who are you?" Was that out of anger, or did you actually consider never recognizing me as your daughter again? The question hung heavy in the air. Nathan took a deep breath and considered his answer carefully. At that moment, I felt conflicted, he eventually admitted. Part of me wanted to hug you immediately and tell you everything was going to be okay. But another part of me remembers the pain of abandonment, of being treated like a dead person. He paused. I think I need you to experience that feeling too, if only for a moment. Melissa nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. I understand. I deserve it. No, Nathan shook his head. Revenge is never the answer, Melissa. I did that out of hurt, not because it was the right thing to do. In fact, I regretted it almost immediately. But you let me in anyway, Melissa pointed out. Yes, because no matter what happens, you are my daughter. Nathan sincerely says, that connection never really breaks, no matter how hard we try. Even after all the horrible things I've done to you. Even then, Nathan confirmed, love is not a transaction, Melissa. True love is unconditional, although sometimes we need to set boundaries to protect ourselves. Melissa wiped away the slipping tears. I don't know if I deserve your love. Love isn't about being worthy, Nathan said softly, reaching for his daughter's hand. Love is a choice, every single day. I choose to love you, as hard as that is, despite all the pain. That's what being a parent is all about. Under the starlight, father and daughter begin to understand the true meaning of forgiveness. Not forgetting the past, but choosing not to let it define the future. It's not an easy path, but it's the only one that leads to true healing. 6 months later, everything changed. Melissa's career has flourished and she has even begun to consider starting her own design studio. Nathan and Elena announced their engagement, planning a small outdoor wedding for the summer. As for Rachel, she eventually moved to her sister's house in Florida to start a new life. Darren was sentenced to 8 years in prison, and he finally got what he deserved for his fraud. One morning, Melissa received an unexpected email. The sender is Rachel. Her heart raced as she debated whether or not she should open it. In the end, curiosity overcame fear. In the email, Rachel did something unprecedented. She apologized. It's not a perfect letter of apology and still carries a bit of self-justification, but it's a start. She admits to making up lies about Nathan and admits to using her daughter as a tool for revenge. She did not ask for forgiveness, but only expressed deep remorse. Melissa forwarded the email to Nathan with the message, "Do you think this is sincere?" A few hours later, he replied, "People do manage to change if they genuinely want to. Maybe give her a chance to prove herself." The answer surprised Melissa. Of all people, Nathan would have had the best reason to reject Rachel's apology. However, he chose the possibility of forgiveness. That night, Melissa responded to her mother's email, expressing a willingness to slowly rebuild the relationship, but only with clearly defined boundaries and ongoing honesty. She didn't know if it would work, but she was willing to try. Nathan and Elena's wedding took place on a perfect June day in their backyard garden. Family and friends surrounded the couple and shared in their joy. Melissa stood by her father's side as a bridesmaid with a heart full of gratitude and hope. As Nathan recited his vows, his eyes briefly met his daughter's. In that moment, without words, they both realized the same thing. Love, true love, can transcend betrayal, transcend pain, transcend time itself. It's not that it won't hurt, it's that it chooses to continue to love even after it does. During the ensuing celebration, Nathan finds the opportunity to talk to Melissa alone. "I'm so proud of you," he whispered, tears glistening in his eyes, "to see you become the strong, independent woman you are today." Melissa hugged her father tightly. "I love you, Daddy. Thank you for teaching me the most important lesson of all." "What class?" he asked curiously. "The power of truth," she replied. "However painful, is always worth more than the sweetest lie." Nathan smiled and nodded, knowing they'd gotten through the hardest part. There will be more challenges ahead, more wounds to heal. But most of all, they will face it together with newly acquired wisdom and a commitment to the truth. Sometimes the darkest betrayal can lead to the brightest revelation. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to get back what really matters. For Nathan and Melissa, that storm did wreak havoc, but it also washed away the lies and pretenses, revealing a stronger, more authentic foundation, a relationship built on truth, forgiveness, and unconditional love. As the newlyweds danced their first dance into the sunset, Melissa looked at the newly formed family and thought of that rainy night when she stood on her father's doorstep. Once, she was full of despair. Now she is full of hope. Once, she felt lost. Now she has found a place to belong. Some wounds never fully heal, and some mistakes cannot be completely erased. But in the tapestry of life, even the darkest lines can be part of a more beautiful and meaningful pattern. The lesson of betrayal eventually becomes an ode to truth, and the emotion of loss eventually leads to a deeper understanding. On this warm summer twilight, the shadows of the past finally give way to the glimmer of hope, proving that even the deepest hurts can be transformed into the truest love. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.